So, I think many of us could agree that the eight-page nations are personifications of the people in a country, and somewhat that's mostly a fact, although there's one underlying difference. They're also their own identities. One person could have a personality, but their history is what shapes themselves. People could learn from their mistakes, and I've seen people disliking Hetalia because they say it portrays history like it's not so complicated. That these countries are two-faced in the real world, but in Hetalia it just seems like they're just treating them as comedians. When you personify people in a certain island or a certain place, that obviously becomes problematic, and I understand why people would dislike the show for this. Because the world is just so diverse that just simplifying them into a person is pretty hard to do. But the thing is, these countries have their own sides. They don't completely exist in just one narrative. Because in my point of view, the characters were meant to be written as humans with flaws and their own opinions, but suddenly placed into this position. Of course, this does not excuse any of Italia's inconsistencies, for no show is perfect, but then again, nothing was ever perfect. When people think of creatures representing countries, the government is a big part of it. They decide what's best for their nations. But if you perceive these characters as an identity who is supposed to represent the entire country, of course the government and them would have a weird relationship sometimes. It has been established early in the show that they follow the orders of their bosses. They may have the best relationships or have a decaying one. Another conflict with the show is that they say that because the main character is Italy, that he also must have supported the fascist movement. People also criticize the show for portraying the main character as somebody who is very useless and unorthodox, even if it isn't true, when you refer to the real-life country. At least that was what he was back then. Early portrayal of these countries are very problematic, but over the years they've gotten more depth. So back to people associating Hetalia with cruel governments. Yes, it's completely true that the eight-page nations represent countries, but they are also their own identity, and they don't agree on everything the government says, and they aren't the government. I don't know everything about countries, but I do know that they shouldn't be blamed for the bad actions of their leaders. They're the ones who fight with their people. They serve the nation and its government. And even if you wouldn't agree with me, I think that it's kind of true that the only difference with the humans is that they are shaped by the decades. They fought to become relevant, to represent the people they love. They became this flawed being. So maybe they aren't so different with humans after all, because like us, they have a voice that helps each other in times of need, and that's what makes us special and great. No matter where you came from, you have morals and beliefs to fight for. We are not just slaves to our fear, and I'm honored to be someone who's free and has an identity like all of us. The countries, like us, are not just labeled with stereotypes because they are very complex. They have a personality, but that's what they do with their personalities that have a bigger impact, and it's what we do with our voices that has a great mark on the world. So, basically, goodbye and stay safe.